The notification sliced through Elias Kane's neural implant at the absolute worst moment. He was buried elbow deep in the humming entrails of a solar distribution panel, sweat beading on his brow, despite the frigid climate control of Nexus Prime's maintenance bay. Stellar Spark matched the synthetic voice chirped with infuriating cheer. Compatibility rating 97.3%. Elias groaned, wrenching himself free from the panel's tangle of circuits. His scarred hands, steady enough to disarm plasma mines during the brutal Helix Frontier War, quivered faintly as he wiped them on his grease-streaked coveralls. 3 years into civilian life, and he still braced for combat alerts not dating app pings. Display match, he muttered, knowing his crew would roast him mercilessly if he ignored another one. The holographic projection that flared to life made his plasma torch slip from his grip, clattering to the deck. Sovereign Larath of the Voidrex Dominion stared back at him, her golden eyes gleaming with a predator's intensity. The Huntress Sovereign herself, ruler of 12 star systems, commander of the sector's most feared armada. Her profile declared, enjoys stalking stellar beasts and unraveling deception, seeking someone who can match my pace. Elias's own bio felt laughably inadequate by comparison. My armor's endured 2 supernovas, but I doubt it'll survive this date. You've got to be shitting me, he whispered, half in awe, half in dread. Is that fear or something else in your voice, Kane Nora Hale? His fellow security consultant leaned over his shoulder, her eyes widening. Holy fusion cores, Elias. You matched with the Huntress Sovereign, the woman who supposedly dines on her enemies' hearts. Propaganda. Elias shot back, though his conviction wavered thin as a hull breach. The Voidrex haven't consumed sentience in 2 centuries, he added, more to convince himself. Sure, and Nexus Corp cares about energy equity. Nora's sarcasm could have sliced through starship plating. You messaging her or what? Before Elias could respond, another notification seared across his vision. Match has initiated contact. The message was stark, commanding. Your armor intrigues me, Kane. Let's test its mettle. Nexus Prime Sector 7 Diplomatic Lounge, 2100 hours. Don't be late, soldier. Elias stared, his pulse quickening. Lilith knew he was on Nexus Prime, knew he was ex-military, called him soldier, not consultant. His combat-honed paranoia screamed trap, but beneath it a spark of curiosity flared. You're going, aren't you? Nora said, not asking. It's a diplomatic app. Elias' rationalized voice steady despite the storm in his gut. Funded by the Terra Concord to ease border tensions through interpersonal connections. Nora snorted. Is that what we're calling it now? Before he could retort, the lights flickered a pattern Elias recognized from his military days. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short, the universal distress code. The bay plunged into darkness, replaced by the eerie orange of emergency power. Power allocation adjustment in progress. The station's AI droned its calm, infuriating. Eclipse lattice optimization may cause temporary disruptions. Thank you for your patience. Elias's jaw tightened. Optimization was Nexus Corp's doublespeak for pay up or lose your light. He'd seen the cost of Nexus Corp's premium packages on struggling colonies. Crops withered, batteries drained, people froze in the void's unrelenting cold. On Vanguard Outpost, 12 civilians had died because their rescue was deemed low priority during an eclipse lattice adjustment. Their faces blue from hypothermia, children clutching lifeless toys still haunted his nightmares. Kane Nora's voice cut through his spiraling memories. You're doing that 1,000-yard stare again. Sorry, he muttered, shaking his head. The light stabilized at 60%, just enough to survive, not thrive, a perfect corporate chokehold. Attention residents, the AI continued. Due to recent aggressive actions by the Voidrex Dominion Eclipse, lattice access may be restricted in contested sectors. Aggressive actions. Nora frowned. I haven't heard of any Voidrex movements. Neither had Elias, and his security clearance usually caught whispers before they hit public channels. Something was off: the timing, the messaging, the swift blame. His implant buzzed again. Another message from Lyra, curious, timing for a random power fluctuation, wouldn't you say? Still planning to test that armor tonight? Or has the dark scared you off? Despite every instinct screaming to stay away, Elias felt a thrill. The Huntress Sovereign saw the same pattern he did, and she was calling it out. I need to clean up, he told Nora, striding toward the door, and find my good armor. Her eyebrows shot up. The good armor. The one you swore you'd only wear if the galaxy was collapsing. It's a date with the Huntress Sovereign, Elias said, voice dry but heart racing. For all I know, it might be. The Sector 7 diplomatic lounge was a spectacle of opulence, its transparent aluminum walls framing the eclipse lattice, a sprawling web of energy collectors and nodes that shimmered like spun starlight. Each node could redirect stellar power across systems, deciding who lived and who languished. Elias arrived 15 minutes early, his restored combat armor gleaming under the dimmed lights. He'd spent hours polishing out scorch marks and swapping damaged plates, the armor's AI humming softly as it scanned every passerby for threats. He wasn't alone in his vigilance. A Terra Concord diplomatic detail occupied the lounge's upper tier, their weapons subtly visible, a silent promise of tension. At precisely 2100 hours, the air shimmered with alien tech. The Voidrex didn't bother with doors, their teleportation a flex of superiority. Human ships still clunked through airlocks, while their elite stepped across stars. Sovereign Larath materialized in a cascade of silver light, and Elias's breath caught. Propaganda posters couldn't capture her. 7 feet of predatory grace and regal poise, her scaled skin shifted from deep indigo to midnight violet with each movement. Faintly glowing hunt marks traced her arms, each a trophy of a stellar beast felled in single combat. Her golden eyes held him not with the savagery of human media's caricature, but with a piercing intelligence that saw through to his core. She wore no armor, only a form-fitting suit woven from starlight itself, a bold declaration that she feared no one here. Elias Kane, she said, her voice resonating with the harmonics no human throat could match. Your armor is even more striking in person. J-Series tactical suit, pre-war craftsmanship. You've upgraded the chest plate with cryon alloy, a bold choice. Better against plasma fire, Elias replied, surprised by his own steadiness. Your Majesty, Lyra, she corrected, tilting her head with a hunter's curiosity. This is a date, not a treaty negotiation. Though given the situation, we may end up doing both. Before Elias could probe her meaning, the lights flickered again, plunging the lounge into darkness. Emergency sirens wailed. Through the transparent walls, he saw eclipse lattice nodes go dark in a deliberate sequence, a calculated shutdown, not a glitch. Attention all stations, a human administrator's voice echoed, strained with suppressed panic. We are experiencing a systematic eclipse lattice failure. Civilians proceed to shelter areas. This is not a drill. The diplomatic detail sprang into action, comms crackling, hands on weapons. Snatches of chatter reached Elias Voidrex, fleet movement detected. Embargo protocols activated. Light rationing in effect. On. Convenient, Lyra murmured so softly only Elias heard. Create a crisis, blame the monster, justify the clampdown. His tactical mind was already dissecting the shutdown pattern. It matched Nexus Corp's profit-driven model, cutting power to the poorest systems while sparing premium clients. He'd seen it before, but never so brazen. We need to move, he told Lyra. If this follows, panic protocols, transit systems will lock down in minutes. Civilians will be trapped in the outer rings where life support's barely functional. She studied him, golden eyes narrowing. And you care because that's where the poorest workers live. Families, kids. His voice hardened, edged with old pain. I've seen what happens when the lights die and no one comes. Something flickered in her gaze, respect, perhaps. Show me. They moved as an unlikely pair, the Huntress Sovereign and the scarred human soldier, racing against time and corporate greed. Elias's armor projected optimal routes across his vision, steering them through maintenance shafts to avoid the chaos of crowded thoroughfares. Why'd you really message me? He asked as they descended a darkened shaft lit only by his armor's power cells and the faint glow of Lyra's hunt marks. Your bio caught my eye, she admitted, her voice steady despite their pace. Most humans on Stellar Spark flaunt wealth or status. You joked about your armor not surviving our date. Self-deprecation is rare. Honesty rarer still. She paused at a sealed bulkhead, her hand hovering over the lock. Also, my intelligence network flagged you as someone asking dangerous questions about eclipse lattice patterns. Elias's hand twitched toward his sidearm, then stilled. If the Huntress Sovereign wanted him dead, he'd never have reached the lounge. And you? He countered. Why's the Sovereign of the Voidrex on a dating app? My advisors think I need to soften my image. She said, her hunt marks flaring as the lock began to glow cherry red under her touch. Show the galaxy the monster can love. Reduce tensions through what did you call it? Interpersonal connections. The lock melted, and she yanked the bulkhead open with strength that could have torn him apart, armor and all. But mostly she continued, voice softer now. I'm tired of being a symbol in a palace full of people who don't see me. The raw honesty hit him harder than a plasma blast. They emerged into the outer ring where chaos reigned. The vast habitation sector was lit only by eerie blue bioluminescent strips, families huddling in corridors, their breath misting in the plummeting cold. Children's cries echoed as parents fought to keep calm. 17,000 souls in this sector, Elias said, his armor sensors painting a grim picture. At this rate, hypothermia hits in 6 hours. The young and elderly half that. Your helmet, Lyra said suddenly. It has a broad spectrum light array for dark combat. Yes, yeah, Elias nodded, catching her drift. Can you modify it? He dropped to one knee, fingers dancing over his armor's interface. The helmet's tactical lights shifted from piercing beams to a warm, diffuse glow. Not enough to replace proper lighting, but enough to ease minds and offer a flicker of warmth. Clever, Lyra murmured, then raised her voice, commanding the quarter. Citizens of Nexus Prime, I am Sovereign Lyra of the Void Rex. Despite the lies you're hearing, my people did not cause this darkness. Fear rippled through the crowd, the Huntress Sovereign here now, but I am responsible for helping you survive it, she declared, stepping to the quarter's center. Her hunt marks pulsed brighter, casting a radiant warmth. Gather close. My marks generate heat as well as light. Elias watched awestruck as the crowd's terror began to melt. Children were ushered forward, first parents swallowing fear for their young. Then the elderly, frail but drawn to the glow. Soon a circle of humanity pressed near their supposed enemy, basking in the warmth of her hunt marks. Symbols of her kills, now a beacon of hope. This won't hold, Lyra whispered to Elias. My marks can sustain this for maybe 4 hours before I need rest. Then we've got 4 hours to fix this, Elias replied, opening a broadcast channel. This is security consultant Elias Kane authorization code. He rattled off his old military credentials, praying they still held weight. All engineers and techs report to Maintenance Hub 37. We're restoring local power, a voice shouted from the crowd. The Eclipse Lattice controls are locked from corporate HQ. We can't override them, no, Elias agreed, voice steady with resolve. But we can bypass them. Every sector has local stellar collectors for emergencies, Elias explained, his voice cutting through the murmurs of desperate engineers. They're offline because Nexus Corp claims it had destabilized the grid. A bitter voice from the crowd shot back. You mean destabilize their profits? Same difference, Elias said, his tone edged with grim resolve. If we can't crack their system, we'll go around it. Lyrith finished his thought, her golden eyes gleaming with approval. I like your mind, soldier. Over the next 3 hours, they forged a partnership Elias could scarcely have dreamed of. Lyrath's raw strength tore open sealed maintenance hatches like they were paper, while Elias orchestrated teams of volunteers to reroute power conduits. The Huntress Sovereign herself hauled components that would have demanded heavy machinery, her hunt marks casting a radiant glow that guided workers through the gloom. Yet even as they fought to restore light, Nexus Corp's propaganda machine churned relentlessly. Emergency broadcasts pinned the blame on Voidrek's sabotage, while newsfeed pundits droned about the need for Nexus Corp to seize emergency powers to safeguard critical infrastructure. They're not even pretending subtlety, Lyrith remarked during a fleeting pause, perched regally atop a crate of supplies despite the grimy industrial setting. Manufacture a crisis, sell the solution, tighten the leash. But why now? Elias connected another bypass cable, his armor's power reserves dwindling as he fed energy into the local grid. Nexus Corp's been bleeding systems dry for years, but this is reckless, because something's shifting. Lyra said, her voice low and certain. The Stellar Accord Summit. You know of it? Elias nodded. A gathering of species to standardize energy rights. Idealistic folly, he'd once thought. But if Nexus Corp was desperate enough to orchestrate this chaos, maybe it wasn't so foolish. A sudden explosion shook the station, and Elias's tactical display screamed alerts. Hull breach Sector 12 main life support processors. That's no system failure, he said, voice tight. Sabotage, Larath agreed, rising with fluid grace. Real sabotage, not the lies they're pinning on my people. They sprinted toward the breach, Elias's armor jets roaring to match Larath's inhuman speed. Behind them, the lights they'd fought to restore flickered and died. The processing center was a war zone, stars glinted through a jagged hole in the hull, emergency fields shimmering weakly. Bodies littered the floor, some stirring, others still. And at the center stood a squad of Nexus Corp's private military, clad in matte black armor weapons, trained on the surviving engineers. One held a detonator poised to unleash more destruction. Nexus Corp apologizes for this necessity, the squad leader intoned, his voice warped by artificial modulation. But theft of power is theft of life. Consequences must follow. The only thieves here wear your corporate logos. Larath snarled, her hunt marks flaring like miniature suns. The squad pivoted as one weapons rising. Elias didn't think he moved, throwing himself between Larath and a barrage of pulse rifle fire. His armor's shields blazed, absorbing the energy in a dazzling display, though the impact rattled his bones. Impressive, Larath said, her voice steady despite the chaos, but unnecessary. She became a whirlwind of motion, her form fracturing into afterimages that confounded the soldiers' aim. They fired at shadows while the true sovereign danced among them, her strikes precise as a surgeon's scalpel. To Elias's shock, she didn't kill. Each soldier dropped paralyzed by expertly targeted nerve strikes. "I'm reshaping my people's image," she said conversationally, stepping over a groaning guard. Slaughtering corporate lackeys would undermine that. The squad leader, still standing, raised his detonator. One more step, Elias's stun bolt caught him square in the chest, sending the device clattering harmlessly to the deck. "Nice shot," Larath said, a hint of amusement in her tone. "Nice distraction," Elias countered, adrenaline still surging. They stood amidst the wreckage, surrounded by unconscious foes and shattered systems, and Elias felt something shift. They'd moved as one, not as strangers on a bizarre first date, but as a team forged in fire. "So," Larath said, her golden eyes studying him, "this isn't how I usually spend my evenings." Elias laughed, the sound raw and unexpected. "What the Huntress Sovereign doesn't regularly thwart corporate terrorism on her dates." "Usually there's dinner first," she replied, tilting her head with a predator's curiosity. "Watching you lead that emergency response, though, you're no mere soldier, Elias Kane. You're a leader who hides it well. And you're no mere hunter," Elias shot back, emboldened by the moment. "You're a protector who cloaks herself in the monster's myth." Her eyes widened just a fraction and she leaned closer. "Careful, Elias Kane. Keep seeing through me like that, and I might decide to keep you." Before he could respond, his armor's comms erupted with chatter, station-wide alerts triggered by the hull breach. Real security was finally mobilizing. "Elias, it's Nora," his colleague's voice crackled through. "Check the news feeds. Now." He pulled up the display, Larath leaning close enough for him to catch the faint ozone and spice scent of her presence. "Breaking news," the anchor declared, voice thick with manufactured urgency. "Voidrex terrorists have struck Nexus Prime's life support systems." The Huntress Sovereign was seen at the scene. Deaths reported. The footage showed Larath in the corridor, but twisted her gathering of refugees, edited to look like a predator selecting prey. Elias's armor beside her bore falsified Voidrex markings. "Clever work," Larath said, her voice a deadly calm. "They planned this from the start." The entire evening was a trap. Elias's mind raced, piecing it together, the stellar spark match, the power failure, the convenient corporate squad. "They wanted you here," he said, visible when the crisis hit. "The question is," Larath murmured, "did they expect you?" A decorated human soldier standing with the monster. That muddies their story. "Only if we survive to tell the truth," Elias pointed out, his soldier's instincts flaring. Her smile was pure predator, sharp and thrilling. "Oh, we'll do more than survive. We'll rewrite their narrative." She drew a communication device, its flowing curves pulsing with alien light. "This is Sovereign Larath. Initiate Sunlight Protocol. Authorization. The hunt reveals truth in darkness." "What's the Sunlight Protocol?" Elias asked, curiosity overriding caution. "My contingency?" Larath replied, her voice edged with resolve. "I didn't come to Nexus Prime just for a date. My intelligence network warned of Nexus Corp's schemes. I just didn't expect them to play so boldly." Through the breached hull, Elias glimpsed lights in the void, not the angular warships he'd braced for, but cargo haulers, emergency craft, mobile hospitals. A humanitarian fleet, he breathed, stunned. I told you I'm reshaping my image, Lareth said, her smile softening. Besides, my mother taught me the best hunt anticipates the prey's every move. The station trembled as the first ships docked, Voidrex teams flooding the damaged sectors with generators, medical supplies, and heating units. Elias watched the news feeds scramble, struggling to paint the Voidrexes as villains while they saved lives. This is just the start, Lyrith said quietly. Nexus Corp won't stop here. They've shown their hand, Elias said, his voice hard with determination. They'll kill thousands to keep their monopoly. We stop them. We... Lyrith raised an eyebrow, her marks flickering with amusement. Bold to assume a second date soldier. Elias glanced at his armor's power readout, down to 12% after shielding her and feeding the grid. His good armor sworn never to be worn again unless the galaxy teetered on collapse. Maybe it was. My armor didn't survive the night, just like my bio promised, he said, a wry grin breaking through. Seems only fair you give me a shot at better armor for date 2. Lyrith's laugh rang like crystal chimes in a stellar breeze. Very well, but next time I pick the venue somewhere with less corporate sabotage. Deal, Elias said, then grew serious. What you did tonight, gathering those people, sharing your warmth, that was heroic. It's what the galaxy needs to see the real you, not their lies. Lyrith fell silent, her hunt marks pulsing with what Elias now recognized as vulnerability. Around them, the station hummed back to life, repairs knitting the chaos together. The real me, she mused, her voice soft. I'm not sure I know her anymore. The hunter, the sovereign, the woman seeking connection on a dating app. Maybe they're all true. Maybe that's what makes you extraordinary, Elias suggested, meeting her golden gaze. You're dangerous, Elias Kane, she said, her tone half warning, half wonder. Me? You're the one with stellar beast kills and a private fleet. True, she conceded, choosing her words with care. But you see through masks. That's a rarer, deadlier skill than any hunt. Their moments shattered as Terra-conquered security forces arrived, their eyes calculating, torn between duty and the political quagmire of arresting a sovereign. Sovereign Lyrith, their leader said stiffly, we'll need a statement on tonight's events. Of course, Lyrith replied, her voice smooth as starlight. Mr. Kane and I were engaged in a diplomatic meeting when the power failure struck. We responded to the humanitarian crisis as any decent beings would. I trust your security footage will confirm this, unless, of course, it's been mysteriously corrupted. The leader's face tightened. They all knew Nexus Corp controlled the narrative. However, Lyrith continued, my fleet's sensors captured everything from our arrival, high-definition, multi-spectrum, quantum encrypted data. I'd be delighted to share it with a legitimate investigation. Elias hid a smirk. Checkmate. As the security team retreated to confer, Lyrith turned to him. Walk me to my shuttle, she said, less a request than a quiet command. They moved through the station, an improbable duo, the Huntress sovereign and the human soldier, trailed by wary guards and curious civilians. Word had spread of their actions. Children who'd shivered in the dark now waved shyly at Lyrith, their fear replaced by awe. Engineers saved by their efforts offered Elias respectful nods as he and Lyrith reached the docking bay. Her personal shuttle gleamed, a sleek marvel of predatory elegance, its curves mirroring its owner's lethal grace. The game's always been rigged, Elias said, his voice low, carrying the weight of too many betrayals. But now we know who's pulling the strings. And you want to cut them? Lyrith asked, her golden eyes searching his. Elias's mind flashed to Vanguard Outpost, 12 civilians, their lives snuffed out in the dark because they weren't profitable enough to save. Yeah, he said, conviction hardening his words. I do. Lyrith nodded, slow and deliberate. Then I have an offer. The Stellar Accord Summit is 3 weeks away. There's momentum to declare stellar energy a universal right, not a commodity. Nexus Corp will stop at nothing to crush it. I need someone who knows their tactics, someone human to prove this isn't just Voidrex politics, someone who puts principles over profit. Elias added, catching her drift. Exactly, Lyrith said, her hunt marks flickering with approval. Someone who jests about their armor failing but throws himself between me and pulse rifle fire. To be fair, Elias admitted, a wry grin breaking through. I didn't think that one through. That's what made it genuine, she replied, pausing at her shuttle's ramp. So Elias Kane, will you join my hunt? Not for beasts or foes, but for truth. He caught his reflection in the shuttle's polished hull, scarred face, battered armor, a soldier who'd fled war, only to find it in corporate boardrooms and energy monopolies. "I'll need new armor," he said, half joking. Lirith's smile was sharp, promising. "I know a Voidrex artificer whose work will endure our next date." "Just the next date," Elias teased. "Not much faith in your tech." "The armor will last centuries," she assured him, her voice weaving predation with playfulness. "The man inside it, no guarantees." The way she said it, sly, sincere, and edged with something deeper, sent Elias's pulse racing. "When do we start?" he asked, leaning into the moment. "We already have," Larath replied, gesturing to the station's chaos around them. "Tonight, Nexus Corp revealed they'll kill thousands to cling to power. But they're scared. The Stellar Accord Summit threatens their monopoly, so they're escalating, creating crises to justify control." "Textbook authoritarian move?" Elias said, his soldier's instincts aligning with hers. "Exactly, but they miscalculated." Her golden eyes gleamed like twin suns. "They brought us together." A chime interrupted his neural implant, buzzing with a stellar spark notification: new compatibility analysis available. Match rating increased to 9.7% based on observed interaction patterns. Lirith's own device echoed the alert, and she laughed, a sound like starlight on crystal. "The algorithm approves of us," she said. "Smart algorithm," Elias quipped, meeting her gaze. She stepped closer, her scales catching the light like prisms. "Each one a tiny galaxy. 3 weeks, Elias Kane. 3 weeks to unravel Nexus Corp's lies and save the Stellar Accord Summit." "Is that enough time? Depends." He said, a spark of mischief in his voice. "Is tonight date one or just a warm-up?" "Oh, definitely date one," Liratha replied, her marks pulsing with amusement. "I've already told my advisors your armor didn't survive the night. They're dying to know what we got up to. Let them speculate," Elias suggested, grinning. "Agreed," she said, turning toward her shuttle, then pausing. "Elias, that bio of yours? My armor survived 2 supernovas. Was it true?" "Unfortunately," he said, his voice darkening. "The Helix Frontier War and the Rigel Cataclysm. Both times Nexus Corp yanked Eclipse lattice support at critical moments. Both times people died who shouldn't have." Lirath's expression hardened, her marks flaring with shared anger. "Then we share more than the algorithm knew. I've hunted many beasts, Elias Kane, but the worst monsters wear suits and speak in profit margins." "So we hunt them," Elias said, his resolve mirroring hers. "We hunt them," she confirmed, her voice a vow. "But smartly, legally, publicly. We drag them into the light they hoard and show the galaxy their true face." As her shuttle lifted off, Elias stood alone in the docking bay, wondering what he'd plunged into. A date with the Huntress Sovereign had sparked a rebellion against the galaxy's most ruthless corporation. His armor was nearly drained, his body aching, and he was likely now on Nexus Corp's hit list. Yet he couldn't wait for date 2. Above the Eclipse, Lattice danced its slow, cruel waltz, doling out survival in stingy doses. But for the first time in years, Elias felt real hope, not the hollow promises of politicians or corporate spin, but the kind forged in darkness beside someone who burned bright enough to change everything. The kind born from finding a partner worth fighting for. Stellar spark, he thought with a wry smile. Who'd have thought aboard her shuttle, streaking toward her fleet, Sovereign Larath savored a rare moment of satisfaction. The evening had surpassed her wildest expectations, not the crisis. She'd suspected Nexus Corp might pull something bold. But Elias Kane, he was the surprise. She'd anticipated a soldier, found a leader. Expected cynicism, found compassion. Sought a human, found a kindred spirit. Her advisors would be livid, entangling with a human, and a controversial one, at that, would stir chaos. Good. Chaos bred unpredictability, and unpredictability was the lifeblood of a hunt for justice. 3 weeks until the Stellar Accord Summit. 3 weeks to dismantle a conspiracy. 3 weeks to redefine who the galaxy saw as monsters. And if luck held, 3 weeks to see Elias Kane in Voidrex-crafted armor, forged to withstand a sovereign's hunt. At Eclipse Citadel, Nexus Corp's headquarters loomed in the executive sector, a predator poised to strike. Valeria Thorne stood before her office's vast windows, the Eclipse lattice's diagnostics streaming across her retinal display. Each node pulsed with ruthless efficiency, channeling light to those who paid and withholding it from those who couldn't. The Nexus Prime incident is contained. Captain Slade Rook, her security chief, reported from behind her. Media narratives holding at 73% acceptance. 73, Valeria murmured, not turning her voice cold as the void. Not enough. And the Huntress Sovereign's humanitarian fleet. It complicates things, Ma'am Rook admitted. Hard to brand them terrorists when they're handing out supplies. Then we pivot, Valeria said, turning at last, her sharp features framed by the office's calculated lighting. If we can't make her a terrorist, we make her a conqueror made today, occupation tomorrow. The masses crave simple stories. And Cain Elias Cain. She savored his name like a rare vintage. Decorated soldier, Vanguard Outpost, so-called hero, if you ignore the civilians he failed to save. Now playing bodyguard to alien royalty. The propaganda writes itself. Her desk chimed with a priority message, and the sender brought a thin smile to her lips. Elias Crow, head of the Colonial Media Network, her ace in the information war. Valeria Crow's oily voice filled the room. I'm worried about the Stellar Accord Summit. My sources say this light as a right nonsense is gaining traction, which is why we're accelerating the campaign, Valeria assured him. By the summit, the Voidrex will be so toxic that anyone tied to them, idealistic ambassadors included, will be untouchable. She ended the call and summoned her strategic interface. 3 weeks to turn public opinion to frame Eclipse Lattice regulation as surrender to alien invasion. Rook, she said, activate Project Loom. Ma'am, it's still in beta, he cautioned. The deepfake protocols aren't fully... They were convincing enough, she cut him off. Start subtly historical footage of Voidrex aggression, survivor testimonies. Build the foundation slowly. And if Cain or the Sovereign counter with evidence, Valeria's smile was a blade. Then we'll see how much truth the market can stomach. 3 days after the Nexus Prime incident, Elias Cain was running on fumes. He'd barely slept coordinating refugee transfers while cataloging every flaw in Nexus Corp's official narrative. His temporary quarters aboard Leras' flagship, the Apex Predator, were plush by military standards. Yet he couldn't shake the unease of being in alien territory. Not alien, he corrected himself. Alley. The Voidrex crew had been nothing but professional, even warm, but years of propaganda made him flinch at their approach. A door chime broke his brooding. Come in, he called. Sophia Vance strode in, her press credentials clinking softly. The investigative journalist had latched onto their cause within hours of the Nexus Prime crisis, scenting the story of a lifetime. Tell me you've got something from those maintenance logs, she said, cutting straight to the chase. Elias gestured to the holographic display hovering over his desk. Pattern analysis confirms our suspicions. Every random Eclipse Lattice failure last year preceded a major energy market shift. Nexus Corp always had reserve capacity ready at a premium price. Classic market manipulation, Sophia said, studying the data with a hunter's intensity. But correlation isn't an intent. We need internal memos, executive orders, proof they knew people would die. Working on it, Elias said. I've got contacts in military intelligence still asking the same questions we are. Sophia perched on his desk, a casual familiarity born from their third strategy session. You know what's wild about this whole mess, beyond the conspiracy to choke humanity's energy supply? She grinned. You and the Sovereign. That stellar spark algorithm nailed it. No diplomatic meddling, no shady deals. Elias felt heat creep up his face. It was just a date, he muttered. A date that sparked a revolution and exposed corporate terrorism, Sophia shot back. Hell of a first move, Cain. Before he could retort, his door chimed again. Sovereign Lirath entered, no permission needed. She owned the ship after all. She'd traded her ceremonial finery for a practical jumpsuit that still somehow radiated majesty on her 7-foot frame. Her hunt marks glowed faintly, conserving energy after her marathon effort warming Nexus Prime's refugees. Sophia Elias, she greeted, her voice carrying those alien harmonics. I assume you've seen the latest broadcasts. Elias pulled up the news feeds, his stomach sinking. Exclusive footage, the anchor declared, breathless with feigned urgency. Voidrex shock troops training for occupation protocols. Is their humanitarian fleet a front for invasion? The grainy video showed Voidrex warriors in combat gear stalking through a human-style settlement, weapons raised. The implications were unmistakable. Fabricated Lyrith said, her voice calm but edged with steel. My troops haven't run urban drills in months, and never in human architecture. Doesn't matter if it's fake, Sophia said, scribbling notes. It looks real. And that settlement, Elias, doesn't it look familiar? Elias zoomed in on the grainy footage, his armor's recognition software whirring. Shit, he muttered, his voice raw. That's Vanguard Outpost. They're using the colony I couldn't save as a backdrop for their lie. Not couldn't, Lyrath cut in her tone, sharp as a plasma blade. You were betrayed. There's a difference. Tell that to the families, Elias growled, his voice heavy with guilt. Lyrath stepped closer, her golden eyes blazing with intensity. I did. Yesterday. 3 of the refugees we pulled from Nexus Prime were Vanguard survivors. They don't blame you, Elias. They blame the system that priced their lives below profit. The words struck deep, stirring the old wounds he carried. Sophia Vance broke the moment, her voice urgent. Touching, but we've got a bigger problem. Check the news ticker. The scrolling text chilled Elias's blood. Breaking stellar spark exposed as Voidrek's intelligence operation. How many humans compromised? They're good, Sophia breathed, her journalist's instincts kicking in. They're attacking how we met, Elias said, his implant buzzing with messages, old squad mates, security contacts, even his sister all questioning if he'd been seduced by alien pheromones or some other media-spun nonsense. We need to hit back fast before this narrative hardens, like hull plating. Already moving, Lyrath said, producing a sleek data pad that shimmered with Voidrek's tech. Ambassador Alara Voss has agreed to an exclusive interview with Sophia. She'll clarify that Stellar Spark was a human initiative fully funded by the Terra Conquered, with documentation to prove it. Solid start, Sophia said, her eyes gleaming with strategy. But it's not enough. People crave stories, not data, something raw, something real. Elias felt a spark of inspiration, reckless and brilliant. What if we give them exactly what they expect? Both women turned to him, intrigued. They're painting us as a threat, right? The warrior sovereign and her human lapdog plotting invasion. So we lean in, show the galaxy what we're really doing, live stream everything, refugee aid our investigation, even our strategy sessions. Total transparency. Lyrath paused, her hunt marks flickering as she considered. That's actually genius. Hiding makes us look guilty. Openness makes them look paranoid. I'm on it, Sophia said, her excitement palpable. 24-hour coverage. Inside the hunt for truth, or something punchier. We'll show the galaxy who you both are. It's risky, Lyrath warned, her voice low. Nexus Corp will see our moves in real time. They already know we're digging, Elias countered. The question is whether they can stop us without exposing themselves as the villains. Over the next week, their guerrilla media campaign took shape. Sophia proved a master of narrative warfare, turning Nexus Corp's attacks into opportunities. When they released expert claims that Voidrek's ships could disable the Eclipse lattice, she countered with technical specs, proving the opposite. Voidrek's tech was more compatible with open-source energy systems. Elias found himself an unlikely celebrity, the failed soldier turned whistleblower, standing shoulder to shoulder with humanity's supposed foe to expose corporate corruption. His inbox overflowed with death threats and marriage proposals in equal measure. But it was his deepening bond with Lyrath that stole the spotlight. Sophia's cameras captured it all, their late-night strategy sessions, their debates over tactics, the unexpected humor, born from clashing cultures. You don't have a word for me, Elias asked during one recorded session, genuinely baffled. We have cultural replication patterns. Lyrath replied, her dignity unshaken. Far more scientific. And way less fun, Elias shot back, pulling up a vid of a cat failing a countertop leap set to dramatic music. This is a meme. Lyrath watched her expression solemn. This is humor. Universal humor, Elias said. Cats botching what they're built for, it's relatable. Like a mighty hunter tripping over her own spear. Lyrath mused, catching on. Exactly, you get memes. Perhaps we should make one, she suggested, her marks flickering with mischief. What would amuse humans? Elias grinned, warming to the idea. There's this whole genre about aliens misunderstanding human quirks, like how we'll pack bond with anything, or how we're basically space orcs. Space orcs, Lyrath repeated, her marks pulsing with amusement. Inexplicably durable, oddly aggressive yet good-hearted. Fascinating. We should show the truth, she continued, that humans will bond with anything, even Huntress sovereigns who supposedly eat hearts. You don't actually eat hearts, right? Elias asked, half serious. Only metaphorically, she deadpanned. Though there was that stellar dragon incident. You're joking. Her face held for 3 seconds before her marks betrayed her with a flicker of mirth. You're terrible, Elias laughed. The mighty sovereign telling dad jokes. I prefer imperial humor, she corrected, her tone mock-haughty. Sophia, reviewing the footage later, was ecstatic. This is gold. You two are dismantling centuries of xenophobia just by being adorable together. We're not adorable, Elias protested. Speak for yourself, Lyrath said, her marks glowing brighter. I'm extremely adorable, but not every moment was lighthearted. As they dug deeper into Nexus Corp's operations, a chilling pattern emerged. The Eclipse Lattice failures weren't random or merely profitable, they were targeted. Look at this, Elias said during a late-night session, Lyrath close enough that he felt the subtle heat of her hunt marks. Every major failure struck colonies pushing for energy, independence, solar farms, fusion projects, even wind turbines. Anything that threatened their monopoly. They're not just profiting from scarcity. Lyrath realized, her voice tight with outrage. They're crushing alternatives. It's worse, Sophia added, joining them with a cup of bitter Voidrex tea. Elias had tried it once and sworn off anything that tasted like regret. I've tracked their patent filings. Nexus Corp's been buying or burying every energy innovation for a decade. They're monopolizing survival itself. Lyrath's marks flared a crimson pulse. Elias now knew signaled fury. On my world, we call it Thurvak, the crime of denying water to the thirsty. It's our gravest offense. Because you evolved on a desert world, Elias said, piecing together what he'd learned of her culture. Water scarcity shaped everything you are. Yes, she said, standing abruptly, pacing with predatory grace. And now they're doing the same with light. Because no one sees the full picture, Sophia said softly. A failure here, a shortage there, always someone else to blame. Voidrex colonists, technical issues. Never the pattern. Then we make them see, Lyrath declared, her voice a clarion call. Elias's implant chimed. Ilara Voss was calling. Her holographic form materialized, weary but resolute. Good news and bad, the ambassador said without preamble. The Stellar Accord Summit will hear evidence on Eclipse Lattice manipulation. But Nexus Corp filed an injunction claiming regulation violates their proprietary rights. Proprietary rights to starlight. Lyrath's voice could have frozen helium. They call it collected and processed stellar energy, Ilara explained. Their legal team argues they own the output because they built the infrastructure. Like claiming a dam owns the rain, Elias scoffed. Welcome to corporate law, Ilara said dryly. But here's the twist. The injunction hearing is public. Present our evidence there, and it's on the official record, untouchable by their spin. Safe from their lies, Sophia finished, her journalist mind racing. But we need more than patterns. We need witnesses, documents, proof of intent. Elias and Lyrath exchanged a glance, the weight of the next step settling between them. The investigation was over. Now came the dangerous part. I know someone, Elias said finally. Draven Locke, former senior engineer on the Eclipse Lattice. Lives off-grid, now paranoid as hell. If anyone has the proof we need, it's him. Can you find him, Ilara asked. I can, Elias said, but he won't talk to me alone, not after what Nexus Corp did to the last whistleblower. Then I'm coming, Lyrath said without hesitation. A Voidrex sovereign approaching a paranoid human engineer, Sophia said, shaking her head. That'll go smoothly. Which is why you're joining us, Lyrath told her. Record everything. If Locke won't speak to us, maybe he'll speak to history. 2 days later, they stood on Relay Node 7's observation deck, watching ships glide through the void. Elias had sent a message through old military channels, hoping Locke still monitored them. The engineer had always been cautious, but after leaving Nexus Corp, he'd become a ghost. He's late, Sophia muttered, her camera drones orbiting like mechanical halos. He's watching. Elias corrected, his soldier's instincts sharp, making sure we're not bait. Paranoid Lyrath observed, her marks dim with focus. Alive, Elias countered. In his line of work, they're often the same. A maintenance panel near their feet slid open, revealing a weathered face framed by wild gray hair and darting eyes. Kane Draven Locke said, climbing out of a hidden tunnel. You look good for a dead man, corporate propaganda, Elias replied with a dry grin. Draven, this is, I know who they are, Locke cut in. The alien sovereign and the journalist. Why should I trust any of you? Because Nexus Corp is killing people. Lyra said, her voice clear and unyielding. And you know how. Locke studied her, his gaze wary but curious. You really don't get it, do you? How deep this goes? Then tell us. Sophia urged, her camera already rolling. Locke's laugh was bitter raw with years of silence. I helped design the Eclipse Lattice. It's not just about controlling light, it's about controlling evolution. Elias felt the deck tilt beneath him, though it hadn't moved. What? Think about it. Locke said, his voice alive with the passion of a man finally unburdened. Control light, you control photosynthesis. Control photosynthesis, you control the food chain. Control the food chain, you control development. Nexus Corp isn't selling energy. They're selling the future, deciding which colonies thrive, which struggle, which evolve, which die. That's monstrous. Lareth breathed, her marks darkening. That's business, Locke corrected. But here's the twist, it's failing. Colonies are adapting, finding alternatives. So Nexus Corp's getting desperate. These failures aren't just for profit anymore, they're about forcing compliance. He produced a battered datapad. Everything's here, technical, specs, executive memos, their whole sick plan. But if I give this to you, I'm a dead man. They'll hunt me down. They won't. Lyrath said, her voice firm as steel. In a blur too fast for Elias to track, she snatched the datapad and pressed a glowing crystal into Locke's hand. Asylum seal of the Voidrex Dominion, she explained. Present it at any of our embassies. You'll have protection, a new identity, safe passage to our worlds. Locke stared at the pulsing, crystal disbelief warring with hope. Why would you? Because Thurvak, those who deny water to the thirsty, are the enemy of all life, human or, Voidrex Larath said. She glanced at Elias, her mark softening. And because someone recently reminded me that strength isn't fearlessness, it's protecting others despite fear. The mighty Huntress, quoting me, Elias murmured, a smile tugging at his lips. Don't let it go to your head, soldier. Sophia, scanning the datapad's files, grew pale. We need to move. If Nexus Corp knows we have this, a double explosion rocked the station klaxons, screaming in their wake. Too late, Draven Locke said, his voice grim as the void. They were watching me all along. Through Relay Node 7's observation windows, Elias glimpsed Nexus Corp's security ships shedding their stealth fields, a full strike team, bristling with military-grade hardware far beyond corporate norms. They're jamming comms, Sophia Vance reported, her fingers flying over her equipment. We can't upload the data. Then we run. Elias decided, his soldier's instincts kicking in. Get to the apex predator. Get the data to Alara. Small problem. Lyrith pointed out, her golden eyes narrowing. My ship's 3 sectors away, and those aren't corporate uniforms. Elias looked again. She was right. The soldiers boarding the station bore Nexus Corp logos, but their tactics, their precision, screamed something else. Military contractors, he breathed. They've hired mercs, good ones. Locke added, his voice tight. Phantom Legion, war crimes across 3 systems. But they deliver. Another explosion rocked the station closer now, and the lights flickered out, replaced by a hellish red glow from emergency systems. I have a plan, Larath said, her tone sharp and predatory. But Elias, you won't like it. If it keeps us alive, I'll love it, he assured her, adrenaline surging. Her smile was a blade gleaming with intent. Then hold the datapad tight and keep up. Her hunt marks ignited, blazing brighter than Elias had ever seen, the air around her shimmering with heat distortion. Sophia, stay close to Elias. Locke, center of the group. Whatever happens, don't stop moving. What are you going to do? Elias asked, his voice steady despite the chaos. What I do best, Lyrith replied. Hunt. She moved like liquid darkness, given form a force of nature unleashed. Elias had seen her fight at Nexus Prime, restrained, controlled. This was the Huntress Sovereign unbound. She didn't kill even now with their lives on the line. Her strikes were precise, disabling mercenaries with nerve-pinching blows, their weapons crushed in hands that could warp steel. Her hunt marks left after images in the crimson emergency light, a dizzying spectacle that made her seem omnipresent. This way, Elias called, leading their group through maintenance corridors, his armor's mapping system charting paths the mercs hadn't secured. Behind them, Lyrath dismantled the pursuit with surgical efficiency. They burst into the docking bay to find more mercenaries waiting, their weapons primed. Elias's hand went to his sidearm, But Sophia grabbed his wrist. "Wait," she hissed. Her camera drones fanned out, broadcasting on every open frequency. "This is Sophia Vance, independent journalist, live from Relay Node 7. We're under attack by Nexus Corp-funded mercenaries trying to suppress evidence of their crimes. I'm with Elias Kane and engineer Draven Locke. We have proof of deliberate eclipse lattice manipulation, causing thousands of deaths." The mercenaries froze. Killing in the dark was one thing. Murdering on live broadcast was another. Clever Locke muttered, "But they'll still, Lirath," materialized behind the mercenary line like a nightmare woven from shadow and light. Her hunt marks painted the bay in shifting patterns, disorienting and dazzling. One by one, the soldiers dropped unconscious before they knew she was there. "Clear," she announced, not even winded. "Though I doubt that's the last of them." They sprinted for the nearest functional ship, a battered cargo hauler that had seen better decades. Elias's military codes bypassed the basic security, while Locke hotwired the rest with practiced ease. As they lifted off, Elias saw more mercenary ships converging on the station. "We're not outrunning them in this rust bucket," he said. "We don't need to," Sophia replied, still broadcasting, her fingers a blur over her controls. 3, 2, 1. The pursuing ships scattered, peeling off in all directions. "What did you do?" Lirith asked, her marks dimming slightly with curiosity. "Posted their ship registrations in Phantom Legion's war crime records," Sophia said, with grim satisfaction. "Corporate killers run fast when the spotlight's on them." They reached the apex predator without further incident. Aboard, Sophia uploaded Locke's data to every server she could access, the files spreading across the galactic net faster than Nexus Corp's PR team could contain. Later, Elias found Lirath on the ship's observation deck, gazing at the stars, her hunt marks softened to a subtle glow. "Thank you," he said, his voice rough with gratitude, "for protecting us, for protecting Locke. It's what hunters do." She replied, her voice steady but warm. "Protect the pack, is that what we are?" Elias asked, half smiling. "A pack?" She turned, her golden eyes thoughtful, catching starlight. "My mother once said the strongest hunters don't hunt alone, they know when to hunt together." "I'm starting to understand her." "Your mother sounds wise," Elias said softly. "She was?" Lirath replied, her marks dimming further, a shadow of grief passing over her. "She died stopping a war with the Cryon Enclave, sacrificing herself for a peace treaty. I used to think that made her weak, choosing words over weapons. Now you're walking her path," Elias finished, his voice gentle. "In your own way." With a bit more violence, she noted a wry edge to her tone. "Well, you're the Huntress Sovereign," Elias teased. "People would riot if you didn't crack a few skulls." Her laugh was crystalline, a sound Elias was beginning to crave. "True, though your path through those corridors was inspired, you didn't need much protecting yourself." "I had good motivation," he said, grinning. "Couldn't let anything happen to you before our second date." "Ah, our second date," Lirath said, her marks pulsing with amusement. "Technically, fleeing corporate assassins counts." "Worst date ever," Elias declared. "For the third, maybe something with less gunfire." "Where's the fun in that?" She stepped closer, and Elias caught the faint ozone and spice scent unique to the Voyage Rex alien, yet intoxicating. "Besides, I warned you about the armor." "You did," he admitted, "though technically it survived." "The night's not over," she said, her tone laced with something that quickened his pulse. Before he could respond, Sophia burst onto the deck, breathless. "You need to see this. Nexus Corp's responding to the leak." They followed her to the command center, where news feeds blared the corporate counterattack. Elias expected denials, legal threats, standard spin. Instead, Valeria Thorne's face filled every screen, her expression a mask of calculated sincerity. "Citizens of the galaxy." The CEO began recent illegally obtained documents spread by terrorist sympathizers aimed to destabilize our energy infrastructure. While Nexus Corp understands concerns about tragic system failures, these were necessary sacrifices to prevent catastrophic collapse. Necessary sacrifices. Lirith snarled, her marks flaring crimson. "The eclipse lattice is delicate," Thorne continued. "Without strict management, cascade failures could doom entire sectors. Yes, we've made hard choices. Yes, some colonies have suffered. But unregulated energy distribution would mean chaos. Billions would die." "She's not denying it." Elias realized, his voice low with shock. "She's justifying it. It's worse," Sophia said, pulling up social media feeds. Look at the reactions. The leaked data had fractured public opinion. Some were horrified by the evidence, but others bought Thorne's narrative better controlled scarcity than collapse. Better some die than all. Fear Alara Voss's hologram, said materializing beside them. The authoritarian's greatest weapon. Scare people enough, and they'll beg for chains. So what now, Elias asked. We show the alternative isn't chaos, Lyra said, her voice resolute. We prove cooperation trumps control. The Stellar Accord Summit, Alara nodded. 1 week away, Nexus Corp will do anything to stop us. Then we prepare for war, Elias said. No, Lyrith corrected, her gaze sweeping over them. Something harder. We win hearts and minds. We show the galaxy a better way. Nexus Corp thinks they own the narrative, but they made one mistake. They united us. Human and Void Rex soldier and journalist, diplomat and engineer. We are the alternative. In 1 week we prove it. Elias felt her words settle into his bones, a call to something greater than exposing corruption, a vision of a better future. Anyone else feel like we're about to change the galaxy? Sophia asked, her tone forced light. Or die trying, Locke muttered. Optimist, Elias shot back. Lyrath's hand found her scaled fingers weaving through his scarred ones, a quiet anchor in the storm. Whatever happens, she said softly, I'm glad the algorithm matched us. Best catastrophic first date ever. Elias agreed, a grin breaking through. As they planned for the summit, a sense of enormity loomed. Locke's data revealed not just greed, but a chilling attempt to control human evolution itself. Unnoticed amid the chaos, Stellar Spark's algorithm tweaked its parameters, learning from its most improbable success. The hunt for truth was now a hunt for the future, and they were just beginning. Sanctuary Drift's refugee camps sprawled across its northern continent, a festering wound of desperation. Makeshift shelters huddled around failing heat generators, their solar panels faltering under the Eclipse lattice's stingy light. Elias walked the muddy paths, his Void Rex crafted armor, drawing wide-eyed stares from children unused to military-grade gear. Mr. Soldier, a small voice piped up. A girl, maybe 6, tugged at his armored leg, her face pale from months of dim light, yet her eyes sparked with hope that tightened his chest. Are you here to fix the sun? He knelt to her level, softening his voice. We're working on it, kid. What's your name, Lila? She said. My mommy says the Sovereign's here too, the scary one who eats bad people. She doesn't eat anyone, Lias assured her. She's actually pretty great. Then why she called the Huntress, for he could answer, a shadow fell over them. Lyrath stood there silent, as starlight, her regal attire swapped for simple camp clothing that did nothing to hide her 7-foot frame or the faint glow of her hunt marks. Because I hunt lies, she said, kneeling beside Elias, her voice warm yet commanding. Want to see something special? Lila. The girl nodded, curiosity overtaking fear. Lyrith extended her hand, palm up, and her hunt marks pulsed. A tiny stellar beast of light pranced above her palm, playful and radiant. How Lila breathed, enchanted. My marks remember every hunt, Lyrath explained. But they can create beauty, not just record battles. This one's from the Prism Veil, a sick creature I helped heal instead of hunt. You can do that, Lila asked wide-eyed. Anyone can choose healing over harming, Lyrath said. It just takes practice. Lila reached out and the light beast danced onto her palm before dissolving in a shower of sparkles, drawing a delighted giggle. She ran off to show her friends, fear forgotten. You're good with kids, Elias observed as they walked on. On my world, all adults share responsibility for the young, Lyrath replied. It's how we survived our harsh deserts. Though human children are different, less formal, more likely to ask inconvenient questions. Like why the scary sovereigns playing with light puppets, Elias teased. Her marks flickered with what he knew was embarrassment. My advisors would be appalled, the Huntress sovereign entertaining younglings like a common lightweaver. Your advisors aren't here, Elias pointed out, and Lila will carry that moment forever, the day the scary sovereign made her smile. They reached the camp's command center, a repurposed cargo container where Sophia had set up her broadcast gear. She was mid-interview with administrators documenting the slow catastrophe of light deprivation. Crop yields down 60%, one said. Vitamin D deficiency in 90% of the kids. Psychological toll from constant half-darkness. And Nexus Corp's latest AIDS solar lamps with proprietary batteries at premium prices. They create the problem, they sell the solution, Sophia summarized. Classic exploitation. It's worse, the administrator said. They're farming us, keeping us weak enough to need them strong enough to keep paying. Elias's implant chimed a message from Admiral Kairos Flint, his former commander. Stop grandstanding with aliens. Real soldiers solve problems with force. Friendly chat, Larath asked, reading his expression. My old CO thinks I've gone soft, Elias said. Wants me to remember humans solve problems with violence. Have you gone soft? She asked, her mark steady. Elias scanned the camp children playing in dim light, parents rationing power cells, hope eroding. No, he said quietly. I've gotten angry. There's a difference, Goodlirith said. Anger can be useful. My mother said rage without purpose is destruction, but rage with purpose is transformation. Your mother sounds like a philosopher, Elias said. She was, Liratha replied. Meditations on the Hunt is required reading in our schools. I hated it as a youngling, too much thinking, not enough action. Now I'm quoting her constantly. Growing up's realizing our parents were right about too many things, Elias agreed, a wry smile tugging at his lips. Their talk was cut short by a commotion at the camp's entrance. A convoy rolled in Nexus Corp logos gleaming on spotless vehicles. Elias's hand twitched toward his weapon. Steady, Lirith murmured. Let's see their play. It was a photo op. Corporate suits stepped out, followed by trucks laden with food medicine, power cells, everything the camp desperately needed. Citizens of Sanctuary Drift, the lead representative announced, media drones already circling. Nexus Corp has heard your plight. While we resolve the technical issues causing your hardship, we offer immediate relief. Technical issues? They created, a voice muttered from the crowd. The representative ignored it. We ask only that you remember Nexus Corp's generosity when certain elements paint us as villains. We're your partners in survival, not your enemies. Her gaze locked on Elias and Lirith. Unlike those who exploit your suffering for their own agenda. That's it, Elias growled, stepping forward. Lirith's hand caught his arm, her grip firm but calm. No, that's what they want, a soldier attacking humanitarians. Watch, she was right, drones were angled to catch any conflict in the worst light. But Lirith had her own move. She glided forward, not aggressive, but with the fluid grace of an apex predator. The crowd parted instinctively. Facing the representative, she smiled, a sharp, unsettling expression. How generous, she said, her voice carrying like a blade. Nexus Corp brings aid to camps born of its own policies, like an arsonist offering water to the homes they torched. I don't know what you're implying. The representative began, flustered. I'm not implying, Lirith cut in. I'm stating facts. Continue your performance. The children need the food, even if it's from the hands that starve them. She turned to the crowd. Take their offerings. You've paid for them 1,000 times in suffering, but never forget who caused it and who exposed it. The representative's smile faltered, strained to breaking. I'd love to see this documentation. Sophia Vance said, her camera drones hovering like vultures as she faced the Nexus Corp representative. Why not discuss it live? My viewers would eat up your version of events. The representative recoiled, her polished facade cracking. We're here to help, not debate. These supplies are Nexus Corp's gift to Sanctuary Drift. Use them well. The convoy vanished as swiftly as it had arrived, leaving behind crates of food medicine and power cells, and a crowd torn between gratitude and fury. Once alone, Elias muttered, that was a trap. Of course, Larath agreed, her golden eyes sharp with insight. They wanted footage of us blocking their aid. Instead, they got me calling them arsonists on live broadcast. The supplies are probably tracked, Sophia added, her journalist paranoia flaring. Maybe even contaminated. I'll have the camp tech scan everything. Paranoid Elias said, a half-smile tugging at his lips. Alive, Sophia shot back, echoing his earlier words to Locke. Speaking of, our engineer friend sent a message he found something we missed. They returned to the apex predator, now cloaked in Sanctuary Drift's asteroid field. Draven Locke waited in a secure conference room, his haggard face proof of sleepless nights. You look like hell, Elias told him, thanks. Locke replied, his voice dry. I've been perfecting the aesthetic, but you'll look worse when you see this. He summoned a holographic display of the Eclipse lattice's full schematics, red highlights marking unfamiliar components. Secondary emitters, Locke explained, hidden in maintenance sections. They don't distribute light, they do something else. What Lyrith demanded her marks flaring with urgency. They emit frequencies that mess with biology, Locke said. Subtle stuff, growth patterns, neurochemistry, even reproductive cycles. He pulled up another display. Every failed colony shows the same changes: heightened aggression, dulled empathy, shortened lifespans. They're not just controlling energy, they're controlling evolution. Elias felt ice flood his veins. They're changing us, optimizing per their memos, Locke said bitterly. Crafting a compliant workforce lives fast, works hard, dies before they can rebel. Thurvak Larath breathed the Voidrex word dripping with disgust Elias had never heard before. This isn't just denying water, it's poisoning the well itself. Can we prove it? Sophia asked, her journalist mind already racing. The components are in the specs, Locke said. But Nexus Corp will claim they're for system optimization or some corporate bullshit. We need physical proof, an actual emitter. That means boarding an Eclipse lattice node. Elias concluded, his voice heavy with the impossibility. The most fortified structures in human space. Or Lyra said, her tone slow and cunning. We invite them to bring one to us. She outlined a plan with the tactical brilliance that had crowned her the youngest sovereign in Voidrex history, audacious, perilous, in pure psychological warfare. You want to challenge Valeria Thorne to prove her system safe. Elias summarized in front of the entire Stellar Accord summit. More than that, Lyra said, her marks glowing like embers. I want to hunt her lies in real time. Make her bring a node for demonstration. We scan it publicly. She either refuses and looks guilty or agrees, and we expose the emitters. She'll smell the trap, Sophia pointed out. Of course, Lyrath agreed, but what choice does she have? Nexus Corp's defense hinges on protecting humanity. Refuse a safety demo, and their narrative crumbles. It's brilliant, Elias admitted. Also probably suicidal. The best hunts often are. Lyrath said, her smile bright and reckless. Besides, I promised you a third date with less gunfire. This'll mostly be verbal sparring. Your idea of less gunfire needs work, Elias teased, shaking his head. Over the next few days, they honed the plan. Lyrath recorded a formal challenge invoking ancient Voidrex hunting traditions. Even humans respected single combat, but with evidence as weapons. Sophia broadcast it across every network, turning it into the media event of the decade. The response was electric. Hashtags like Hunt for Truth and Stellar Showdown trended galaxy-wide. Memes exploded. Elias's favorite showed Lyrath as scientific method, stalking a cartoon Thorn labeled corporate lies. You've started something, he told Lyrath as they watched the social media storm. We started something, she corrected, her marks flickering with bemusement. Though these memes baffle me, why am I a giant cat hunting a mouse in a suit? It's symbolic, Elias explained, grinning. You're the predator. She's the prey, a role reversal since corporations usually hunt consumers. Like your David and Goliath tale, Lyrath mused. The small toppling the mighty. Except I'm taller than most humans. Details, Elias said, waving it off. The point is the narrative. We're shifting it from aliens versus humans to truth versus lies. Speaking of truth, he added carefully, that first night, you said you wanted someone who could keep up. Physically or intellectually. Her marks pulsed in complex patterns he was still learning. Both? Neither. She paused, rare hesitation from someone so decisive. I meant someone who could see me, not the sovereign, not the huntress, not monster or savior. Just Lyra. Just Lyra. Elias echoed, lightening the moment's weight, who happens to bench press 2 ground vehicles. 3 civilian models, she corrected, her marks glowing with amusement. Their banter was cut short by an incoming transmission. Valeria Thorne's face filled the screen, her expression cold as a comet's core. Sovereign Lyrath, she began, your challenge is received. But Nexus Corp doesn't indulge in primitive dominance displays. Pity, Lyrath replied, her voice dripping with mock regret. I was eager to see you attempt civility. Thorne's eye twitched, a hairline crack in her composure. We prefer structured debate, facts, not theatrics. Then you'll have no issue with a practical demonstration, Lyrath countered. Bring an Eclipse lattice node to the Stellar Accord summit. Prove your technology's safety and benefit. Unless you have something to hide, we hide nothing, Thorne said stiffly. Nexus Corp will provide a full demonstration. But when we prove our system's vital, I expect a public apology for your baseless claims. And when we prove they're weapons of control, Lyrith said, her tone deceptively pleasant, I expect you to face justice for crimes against sentience itself. The transmission cut off. Elias let out a low whistle. She agreed. I can't believe it. She had no choice, Sophia said. Refuse and she admits guilt. But she controls the demo she's betting on technical obfuscation. Then we cut through it, Elias said, resolve hardening. The week blurred with preparation, recruiting experts, calibrating scanners, coordinating with Alara Voss on legal frameworks. Through it all, Elias and Lyrath grew closer, their partnership shifting from necessity to something deeper, unspoken, but undeniable. One night he found her in the Apex Predator's observation lounge, staring at the stars, her marks dim with introspection. Nervous, he asked, joining her. Terrified, she admitted, her voice soft. Not of Thorn or Nexus Corp, but of failing those who depend on us. You won't, Elias said with quiet certainty. You're the most capable person I've ever met, and I've known some military prodigies. Capability isn't always enough, Lyra said. My mother was capable, yet she died stopping a war. But she stopped it, Elias pointed out. Sometimes victory means others survive, even if you don't. Pragmatic, she said, a faint smile breaking through. Very human. I learned from the best, he replied. Very Voidrex. Her soft laugh warmed the air. We're corrupting each other. Improving her, Elias corrected. That's what good partnerships do. She turned to him. Golden eyes searching. Is that what this is? A good partnership, among other things, he said carefully. Like what? Well, it's the most interesting second date I've ever had, exposing conspiracies, saving refugees, rewriting galactic energy policy. You forgot the memes, Lyrath added, her marks pulsing with warm light. I'm now a reaction image for dramatic reveals. Your greatest triumph, Elias teased. Actually, she said, her voice softening. My greatest triumph might be showing a decorated human soldier that not all aliens are monsters. You didn't convince me, Elias said. You showed me. Big difference, and what did I show you? He considered, his voice earnest. That strength isn't domination. Leadership isn't control. Hunting can seek truth, not prey. That someone can be terrifying, yet gentle alien, yet familiar, royal yet real all at once. You see all that, she asked, her marks glowing brighter. I see you, Elias said simply. The moment stretched electric with possibility until Lyrath smiled, a soft, dangerous expression that stirred his pulse. Careful, Elias Kane, she said. Keep saying things like that, and I really will have to keep you. Promises, promises, he replied, grinning. Alarm shattered the moment, Sophia's voice echoing through the ship. We have a problem. Nexus Corp's not waiting for the summit. They are moving Eclipse lattice nodes into defensive positions around the venue. They rushed to the command center where tactical displays revealed 3 massive nodes each, a small moon positioned to control the summit's light. They're making a statement, Elias realized. Comply or lose everything. Then we make a bolder one, Lyrath declared. Sophia, can you broadcast from the ship always? Sophia confirmed. Good. Let's show the galaxy what we're truly hunting, Lyrath said, turning to Elias. Up for some trouble before our third date? Wouldn't miss it, he said, his grin matching her resolve. Armor up, soldier. Time to remind Nexus Corp that humans aren't the only relentless hunters in the galaxy. As Elias headed to the armory, he reflected on the journey since that first stellar spark notification. A match with a Voidrex sovereign had uncovered a conspiracy threatening human evolution and revealed something he hadn't known: he needed partnership purpose, and perhaps something more if they survived the days ahead. His new Voidrex crafted armor weighted a fusion of human and alien ingenuity, stronger and more adaptable than anything he'd worn. Like his bond with Lyrath, it was something new forged from the best of both worlds. Ready, Lyrath asked, appearing in her ceremonial armor, stunning yet lethal, a perfect mirror of her. Ready, Elias confirmed. Together they braced for Nexus Corp's next move. The hunt was nearing its climax, and the prey was fighting back. But Elias had learned something vital these past weeks, hunting beside the Huntress. Sovereign didn't just mean chasing a target. It meant becoming something Nexus Corp never anticipated: a partnership across species, a love story carved in defiance and justice, a future where light belonged to all. The Stellar Accord Summit loomed a crucible that would decide whether humanity shaped its own evolution or bent to Nexus Corp's will. Time to hunt. The summit's conference center orbited at the L5 point between Earth and Luna, a monument to human ambition with its transparent domes and spiraling towers. It should have basked in eternal sunlight, but three eclipse lattice nodes hung like monstrous spiders, their arrays casting deliberate shadows across the structure. In the preparation chamber, Elias Kane watched technicians run final diagnostics on smuggled scanning gear. His new Voidrex-crafted armor felt alien, its bioreactive surface shifting with his every move, whispering tactical data into his nervous system, a sensation he was still learning to trust. "Stop fidgeting," Sovereign Lirath said from across the room, her voice calm but teasing. She stood motionless as attendants adjusted her formal armor, a Voidrex masterpiece blending ceremonial beauty with lethal functionality, each scale a fusion of art and war. "I'm not fidgeting," Elias protested, a grin tugging at his lips. "I'm acclimating." "You're nervous," Lirith corrected, her golden eyes sharp. "Your heart rate's up. Pupils dilated, and you've checked your weapon 6 times in 10 minutes. Your armor's spying on my biometrics," he said, half accusing. "Our armors are synced," she explained, her hunt marks pulsing with amusement. "In battle, we move as one. Your fear sharpens my caution. My rage fuels your strength. Intimate." Elias said carefully, the word carrying more weight than he intended. "Partnership?" Lirath replied, her marks glowing warmer. "Unless you'd rather I disable the link." "No," he said too quickly, then grinned to cover it. "Backup's good." Sophia Vance swept in her press credentials, now commanding a full technical crew. "We're live in 30 minutes. The chamber's packed. Every major species sent delegates. This isn't just about human energy rights anymore." "It never was," Ambassador Alara Voss said, joining them, her robes a tapestry of a dozen cultures' symbols. "Nexus Corp's model has spread across the galaxy. If we break their monopoly here, it sets a precedent everywhere." "No pressure," Elias muttered, his soldier's sarcasm masking the weight in his chest. "Pressure forges diamonds," Lirath said, her voice steady as a star, "or grinds carbon to dust. Let's be diamonds today." Through the chamber's windows, Elias watched delegates arrive, Cryon Enclave, with their crystalline exoskeletons, Fluxari floating in pressure suits. Even the reclusive Triad nomads sending observers. But his gaze lingered on the human sections where corporate executives sat apart from colonial delegates, the divide stark and deliberate. "Valeria Thorne's here," Sophia reported, scanning feeds. "With a full tech team. An interesting Admiral Kairos Flint's with her. So is Matriarch Vespera from the Voidrex military faction." Elias's jaw tightened. His former commander, siding with Nexus Corp, cut deeper than he'd expected, and Vespera's presence meant Lirath faced betrayal from her own. "They're framing this as military necessity," Alara said. "Order versus chaos, security versus vulnerability. Then we'll show them true vulnerability." Lirath declared, her hunt marks flaring with a hunter's instinct. "Are the scanners ready?" Dravenlock's voice crackled through their comms, the engineer monitoring remotely, too paranoid to attend. "Ready as they'll get. Get me near a node, and I'll expose every hidden circuit." 30 seconds, Sophia announced. "This is theater as much as truth play," to the crowd. Elias and Lirath approached the entrance together. At the threshold, she paused, her voice dropping. "Elias, whatever happens in there, know this, matching with you was the best accident of my life. Accident." He raised an eyebrow, a spark of humor, cutting the tension. "I thought the Huntress Sovereign didn't believe in accidents." "I don't," she admitted, her mark softening, "which makes this all the more intriguing." The doors parted, and they stepped into the arena. The main chamber was a diplomatic marvel, its circular tiers ensuring every delegate had equal view, crowned by a transparent dome, revealing stars and the ominous eclipse lattice nodes. Valeria Thorne stood at one focus of the elliptical platform, her corporate team arrayed like a battalion. Her suit, likely worth a colony's energy budget, radiated authority. "Sovereign Lirath," she said, her voice slicing through the chamber's acoustics. "How generous of you to offer this spectacle." Director Thorne Lirath replied, taking her place at the opposite focus. "How predictable of you to mistake justice for a performance." A murmur rippled through the delegates. The battle lines were drawn. A neutral AI moderator materialized between them. This session of the Stellar Accord Summit We'll address Sovereign Lyrath's challenge regarding the safety and necessity of Eclipse lattice technology. Director Thorn, as the challenge you may present first. Thorn stepped forward, and the chamber's holograms erupted with star charts or energy graphs and population data, a deluge meant to overwhelm. Delegates, she began, we stand at a crossroads. Proven stability through managed energy distribution or the case of unregulated access. She gestured, and the displays showed thriving colonies under Eclipse lattice protection. For 50 years, Nexus Corp has prevented energy wars that once ravaged systems. Yes, we charge for our services. Yes, we make tough calls. But the alternative, that the holograms shifted to historical footage colonies, battling over solar collectors, ships obliterating rival energy, grids, the brutal days before the lattice. Without centralized control, we return to this. Thorn continued. Is that what the Sovereign wants? Is that what you want? Elias had to admit it was a strong opening. Fear was a potent weapon, but Lyrath was already in motion. An intriguing history lesson, she said, her voice cutting through the delegates' murmurs like a blade. But incomplete. Show them what followed those wars, Director. Show who profited from the chaos. Thorn's face remained impassive, but Elias caught the subtle tension in her shoulders. I don't follow, she said. Then let me illuminate, Lyrath replied, gesturing as Sophia's team projected their data. Nexus Corp, founded mere months after the worst conflicts, funded by arms dealers who arm both sides. Emergency contracts granted, never rescinded. The chamber stirred as delegates connected the dots. You didn't end the wars, Lyrath pressed. You profited from them. And when peace came, you ensured no competition could rise, not for harmony, but for monopoly. Speculation and conspiracy. Thorn dismissed. Where's your proof? Right here, Elias said, stepping forward. Protocol be damned. 3 weeks ago, Nexus Corp engineered a crisis on Nexus Prime. People died. Children nearly froze. Why? He projected leaked communications. Because the station explored alternative energy sources threatening your profits. You didn't stop energy wars. Director, you just moved the battlefield. Admiral Kairos Flint emerged from the corporate section. Kane, you forget yourself. You're a soldier, not a policymaker. I remember exactly who I am. Elias shot back, his voice steady with old pain. I remember Vanguard Outpost, 12 civilians dead because Nexus Corp deemed their rescue too costly. You taught me soldiers protect people, Admiral. When did you forget the 2 men locked eyes, years of Lushboltian command, fracturing in real time? Gentlemen, the AI moderator intervened. Return to your positions. Sovereign Lyrath, do you have evidence for these claims? Better than evidence, Lyrath said. A proposal. Director Thorn brought an Eclipse lattice node for demonstration. Let's examine it publicly, thoroughly. If it's merely an energy system, she has nothing to fear. Impossible, Thorn snapped. The technology is proprietary trade secrets worth trillions. More valuable than lives, Lyrath pressed, her marks glowing brighter. More precious than trust. You claim your nodes are safe, necessary, benevolent. Prove it. The chamber erupted in debate, delegates weighing political costs. Elias watched Thorn's face and saw the moment she realized she was cornered. Very well, the CEO said, her voice cold as ice. But on one condition, neutral parties conduct the examination. If nothing improper is found, the Voidrex Dominion endorses Nexus Corp's system. Agreed, Lyrath said without hesitation. And if we find what I know is there, Nexus Corp transfers all Eclipse lattice technology to open source control. You're confident for someone risking your empire's credibility, Thorn noted. I'm a hunter, Lyrath replied, her voice steady as a star. I don't strike unless I'm certain of my prey. The next hour was controlled chaos. Technical teams from multiple species swarmed the node, calibrating scanners and establishing protocols. Elias stayed close to Lyrath, their synced armors sharing data and instincts. She's too calm, he murmured. Thorn knows something we don't. Or she's a master at bluffing, Lyrath replied. Watch the Cryon delegate, 3rd row left. He's signaling someone. Elias checked. Subtle light patterns flickered across the crystalline being's surface. Corporate comms, he said. They're coordinating. Then we move first, Lyrath said, raising her voice. Delegates, while we await the examination, perhaps, Director Thorn can explain why Nexus Corp so fiercely opposes the Stellar Accords energy proposal. If your system is beneficial, wouldn't oversight confirm that oversight becomes interference? Thorn replied smoothly. Committees meddling in technical decisions they can't grasp, politics overriding physics. Or because oversight would reveal this, Draven Locke's voice boomed through the chamber's speakers. Schematics materialized on the main display highlighting hidden components. Secondary emitters in every node frequency generators unrelated to energy distribution. Thorne's composure cracked. Those are classified, were classified. Sophia corrected, stepping into the spotlight, until a brave engineer risked everything to expose them. Delegates, these are weapons not against ships or stations, but against evolution itself. The chamber exploded, delegates shouting for answers. Lyra stood unmoved, her hunt marks blazing like stellar fire. Enough, she roared, her voice carrying harmonics that silenced the chaos. Director Thorne, you have one chance. Explain these components. Now, Thorne straightened her suit, stalling. When she spoke, her voice was corporate smooth. Population management systems. Nothing sinister. As colonies grow, energy demands surge. These encourage sustainable growth patterns. You mean they force genetic changes, Elias Kane said, his voice low and sharp with outrage. Shorter lifespans, heightened aggression, dulled empathy. You're engineering us into better workers and worse humans. Evolution was already doing that. Valeria Thorne countered, her tone smooth as polished steel. We're guiding it, ensuring humanity's survival in a hostile universe. By making us more hostile, Lyrath's hunt marks pulsed their rhythm, syncing with Elias's racing heartbeat through their armor link. By turning humans into tools, says the apex predator, Thorne shot back her words, a calculated barb. Your species clawed its way to dominance through hunting and killing. Don't lecture me on guided evolution when your culture glorifies the strong devouring the weak. Elias felt Lyrath's rage surge through their connection, a molten wave hot enough to burn. But instead of lashing out, she smiled, a quiet, dangerous curve of her lips. You're right, Lyrath said softly, stepping forward with deliberate grace. We were predators, reveling in the hunt, the kill, the dominance. And do you know what happened? Her voice grew sharper, each word a blade. We nearly went extinct. The strong consumed the weak until only the strong remained. Then we turned on each other. Until my ancestor Thalira the Enlightened rewrote our path. She taught us the greatest hunt is for purpose, not prey. For harmony, not domination. Her marks shifted from furious red to deep gold, radiant with conviction. We evolved, Director, not through force or manipulation, but through choice. And now you'd strip humanity of that same choice. Choice, Thorne laughed, sharp and bitter. You think they'd choose wisely without guidance, without control. They'd destroy themselves in a generation. Like we're destroying ourselves now, Elias asked quietly, his voice heavy with the weight of lost lives. Slowly, profitably, but still destroying. The examination team signaled completion, their findings blazing across the chamber's display in stark detail. Every hidden component, exactly as Draven Locke had predicted: frequency, emitters, biometric adjusters, nanodispensers for chemical manipulation. The evidence is clear, the AI moderator announced. The Eclipse lattice nodes contain undisclosed systems designed to alter human biological development. Director Thorne, how do you respond? Thorne scanned the chamber, her mind racing. Then her expression shifted. Elias recognized it from countless battlefield negotiations, the look of someone about to upend the board. I respond with this, she said. She drew an unfamiliar device and pressed it. Every light in the chamber died, not dimmed, but extinguished. The Eclipse lattice nodes outside reversed actively, absorbing light, plunging the station into void-like darkness. Emergency systems failed. Even bioluminescent species found their glow stifled. Thorne's voice echoed through the black. You want to see life without Nexus Corp? Without control, you're living it. Every colony, every station, every ship tied to our network is going dark. Now. Screams erupted, panic spreading like wildfire. Crashes and collisions filled the air, catastrophe's soundtrack. But through their armor link, Elias felt Lyrath's presence steady as a flame. Her hunt marks began to glow, faint at first, then brighter, a beacon in the abyss. Delegates, her voice cut through the chaos, resonant with harmonics that calmed organic nerves. I am Lyrath Huntress, sovereign of the Voidrex, and I tell you, we do not need their light. She raised her hands, her marks flaring to blinding brilliance, warmer, more alive than artificial light, vibrating with frequencies that spoke to every being's core. Other Voidrex delegates joined her, their marks adding to the glow. A Cryon representative resonated, their crystalline form refracting the light into prismatic waves. You see, Lirath continued, they create scarcity and call it necessity. They manufacture darkness and sell us light, but we carry our own fire. We always have. Elias's armor sparked to life, its Void Rex components drawing power from Lirath's marks, casting a secondary glow. Across the chamber, similar lights flickered as technology fused with biological energy. That's impossible, Thorn's voice faltered, her confidence crumbling. You can't generate enough power to break your monopoly. Sophia Vance's voice rang out, her broadcast systems restored. To prove we don't need you, Director Thorn, you just showed the galaxy what you are, not protectors, but parasites. The main lights flickered back on as technical teams overrode Nexus Corp's controls, but the damage was done. Every delegate had felt Thorn's darkness and seen the alternative. I call for an immediate vote, Ambassador Alara Voss declared. All in favor of classifying stellar energy access as a fundamental right. Hands, tentacles, and energy fields rose in a tidal wave of agreement, even some corporate delegates joining, sensing the shifting tide. All in favor of transferring Eclipse Lattice technology to open-source control under Stellar Accord oversight. Another overwhelming wave. Director Thorn, the moderator, said, "You are hereby stripped of energy distribution privileges, pending investigation for crimes against biological sovereignty." Guards escort her. Thorn moved like lightning, her device morphing into a weapon aimed at Lirath, its energy discharge building. Elias moved faster, his armors linked to Lirath's instincts, sensing danger a split second before his own. He threw himself in front of her as Thorn's finger tightened on the trigger. The shot meant for Lirath's heart struck his chest, the Void Rex armor flaring in a dazzling light show, dispersing most of the energy. But some pierced through enough to drop Elias to his knees, his systems screaming warnings. Elias Lirath's roar shook the chamber. She lunged, but Thorn vanished in a shimmer of a pre-planned corporate teleporter. Elias tried to speak to assure her he was fine, but his armor's biofeedback was in chaos. Lirath's hands found him, her marks pulsing with desperate energy as she stabilized his systems. "Don't you dare," she whispered, her voice too soft for others to hear. "You promised me a third date without gunfire. You don't get to die making yourself a liar." Technically, Elias managed, his voice strained. "You didn't get shot." "Promise kept, idiot," she said, her tone fond despite the fear. "My idiot, but still an idiot." His armor stabilized human and Void Rex tech weaving together to mend the damage. Supported by Lirath, Elias rose the chamber, erupting in chaos, not of destruction, but of change. Delegates formed committees, drafted laws, planned the transition. Sophia broadcast it all, ensuring the galaxy saw Thorn's attack and Elias's sacrifice. The revolution sparked by a stellar spark match was becoming reality. "Did we win?" Elias asked medical teams fussing over him. "We survived," Lirath corrected. Thorn escaped. Nexus Corp still controls most nodes, and the fight's far from over. "But yes, we won this battle." "Good enough," he said, looking past the Sovereign to the woman beneath, her golden eyes fierce with care. "Though I noticed you called me yours back there." Her marks flushed the Void Rex equivalent of a blush. "Adrenaline, battle hormones, don't read into it." "Too late," Elias grinned. "I'm reading all sorts of things into it." Admiral Kairos Flint approached, his face unreadable. Elias braced for conflict, but Flint saluted. "You were right," he said simply. "I forgot what we're meant to protect." "Glad you remembered." "Never forgot," Sir Elias replied. "Just found the right hunt." As victory's chaos swirled, Lirath guided Elias to a quiet alcove, their synced armors humming softly. Through the chamber's transparent walls, they watched a new era dawn. The Eclipse Lattice nodes loomed no longer threats, but puzzles to solve, tools to reforge. "What now?" Elias asked. "We implement the changes," Lirath said. "Teach people to make their own light. Hunt Thorn and her allies. Build something better. Together." Her golden eyes held a promise. "Together after all the algorithm matched us for a reason." "About that," Elias said, his voice careful. "Our match's timing right before this all began, it wasn't random." "I know." Lirath finished, her mark steady. "I've suspected for a while. Someone wanted us to meet. Someone who saw this coming." "Any guesses who?" Elias pressed. "A few," she said. "But that's a hunt for another day. Right now we've got a revolution to steer and a promise to keep." "The third date," Elias recalled, grinning. somewhere free of gunfire, conspiracies, or galaxy-shaking stakes. Think I can manage that? I know a place, he added. A little Luna restaurant with the best Thai food in the system. Quiet, intimate, no weapons allowed. Sounds perfect, Lireth said, her predator's smile glinting. Though we should bring the armor. Just in case. Just in case, Elias agreed. As they stepped back into the chaos, hands linked and armor synced, Elias marveled at the path from a stellar spark bio-joke to exposing a galaxy-spanning conspiracy. From soldier and sovereign to partners in revolution. The hunt for justice was far from done, but for the first time in years, Elias felt hope not just for humanity, but for himself. A future with a 7-foot alien sovereign who got memes, fought for refugees, and claimed him in crisis. Stellar spark, he thought, smirking. Best catastrophic algorithm error ever. The Stellar Accord's lights burned brighter, no longer rationed, but shared freely. In that glow, two unlikely partners planned their next hunt after dinner, of course. Even revolutionaries needed to eat. 6 months later, Elias stood on the observation deck of the newly formed Light Refugee Agency, watching ships arrive from across human space. Each carried families freed from darkness, seeking new beginnings under the open light standard. 30,000 processed this week, Sophia Vance reported, joining him at the viewport. Now director of public information, she'd traded her roving drones for a desk, though her eyes still hunted stories. Sanctuary Drift's camps are nearly empty. And Thorn, Elias asked. Still in the wind, Sophia said. But her network's crumbling. 3 more Nexus Corp execs turned themselves in yesterday, trading testimony for leniency. Elias nodded, his gaze drifting to a shuttle from the diplomatic quarter. Lirath had spent the week negotiating to make the Light Refugee Agency truly interspecies, their time together now rare and precious amid mounting duties. You're doing that lovesick soldier thing again, Sophia teased. I'm monitoring traffic for security. Elias corrected, his tone dry. Sure, and it's got nothing to do with the Sovereign on that shuttle. Before he could retort, his implant chimed not an agency alert, but from Stellar Spark of all things, system notification. Your match compatibility has reached unprecedented levels. Congratulations on achieving perfect resonance status. Perfect resonance, Sophia leaned over reading his display. Never heard of it, neither had Elias. He pulled up the details, frowning at algorithms and metrics, quantum entanglement patterns, synchronized biorhythms, more like advanced physics than a dating app. The shuttle docked and Lirath entered the deck, her simple diplomatic robes unable to dim her commanding presence. Her hunt marks glowed with subtle warmth, a sign Elias knew meant contentment. Elias, Sophia, she greeted. Good news, the Cryon Enclave will share their photosynthetic tech. Combined with the freed Eclipse lattice nodes, we can build sustainable light gardens on every affected world. That's huge, Sophia said, but you might want to see this. She showed Lirath the Stellar Spark notification, and the Sovereign's marks flickered through colors Elias couldn't yet read. Elias couldn't decipher the shifting hues of Lirath's hunt marks. Perfect resonance, she murmured, her voice soft with wonder. My mother spoke of it once, a theoretical bond so complete, it's like quantum entanglement between souls. She trailed off, her expression guarded a rare crack in her regal composure. She said what Elias pressed gently. Nothing, Lirath deflected, turning to Sophia. Old stories. We have bigger concerns. Are tomorrow's colony ship manifests finalized? Sophia caught the dodge but played along. Almost. Some human families are nervous about bunking near Voidrex refugees. Then mix them closer, Lirath suggested, her mark steadying. Fear fades with proximity. Plan cultural exchanges for the journey, let them learn from each other. They dove into logistics for the next hour, plotting transport and integration. But Elias couldn't shake the sense that Lirath was holding something back. Their synced armors, even in standby, let him feel her undercurrent of worry beneath her calm facade. That evening, he found her in their shared quarters aboard the Apex Predator, standing before a holographic display of ancient Voidrex script, her marks dim with focus. Going to tell me what's really going on? He asked, his voice gentle but firm. Lirath didn't turn. How much do you know about Stellar Spark's inner workings? It's a matching algorithm, Elias said. Personality profiles, interests, compatibility metrics. Surface level. Lirath interrupted. The deep code, its core algorithm. No one knows who wrote it or how it truly functions. 5 years ago, it appeared across all species networks, fully integrated, fully active. Elias paused, the implications sinking in. That's impossible. Security protocols would block unauthorized integration. Exactly, Lyra said, facing him at last, her golden eyes intense. My mother was investigating it before her death. She believed Stellar Spark wasn't just a dating app. It was designed to find specific genetic and psychological matches across species. For what Elias asked. She never learned, Lyra said, gesturing to the ancient text. But she found references in our oldest archives to the Nexus Weaver, a theoretical device to bond compatible souls across any distance, any difference. Elias stepped closer, studying the unreadable script. You think Stellar Spark is this Nexus Weaver? I think someone built a version of it, she said. Someone who knew the galaxy's conflicts stem from our failure to connect across species. And she hesitated, her marks pulsing with complex emotions. I think it chose us deliberately to do what we've done, shift the paradigm, break Nexus Corp's grip. You're saying we were manipulated, Elias said, his voice steady. I'm saying we were chosen. Lyrith corrected, her marks flickering with vulnerability. Does that cheapen what we've found together? Elias considered the months since their match, chaos, danger, transformation. Yet through it all, their bond had only deepened, undeniable and real. I don't care, he said finally. Whether it was an ancient AI, an alien philosopher, or a time-traveling matchmaker, you're the only one who's ever seen past my soldier scars. I'm the only human who's made you laugh at memes. We still saved the galaxy together. Partially saved, Lyrath corrected, her marks glowing warmer. There's work left. Then we do it together, Elias said. Chosen or not, I choose this. I choose us. Her smile was rare, soft, transformative. You always know what to say. I'm learning your marks, Elias admitted. That shade of purple means you're overthinking. And that human grin means you're about to distract me from it, she countered. Guilty, he said, pulling up a display. Found that Luna restaurant I mentioned. It's got a branch on the station. Ready for a third date without gunfire. Are you sure it'll be gunfire-free? Lyrith asked, her marks teasing. Our track record begs to differ. Sophia's team swept it 3 times, Elias said. No assassins, no traps, no galaxy-shaking conspiracies. Just Thai food and terrible ambient music, Sold Lyrith said, though we should wear the armor just in case. Already laid out, Elias admitted, nodding to their suits on standby. I'm optimistic, not reckless. 2 hours later, they sat in the small restaurant Armor on passive, sharing pad thai and green curry. Other diners stole glances at the famous duo, the human soldier and Voidrex sovereign, who toppled an energy empire with a dating app match. This is nice, Lyrith said, wrestling with chopsticks, a utensil her people never developed, favoring methods humans found unsettling. No conspiracies, no assassins, no one trying to evolve us against our will. Just food and talk, Elias agreed. Like normal people. Are we normal? She asked, her marks flickering with amusement. Not a chance, but we can fake it for a night. They spoke of small things, films Larath discovered through human exchanges, Elias's fumbling attempts at Voidrex poetry plans for the Light Refugee Agency. Over mango sticky rice, which Lyrath had grown addicted to, she said, I've been thinking about what's next. Nexus Corp's broken, but the root issues remain scarcity mindsets, us versus them. The idea that one must suffer for another to thrive. Sounds like another revolution, Elias teased. An evolution, she corrected. My mother believed species could find harmony through understanding. I thought her naive. Now I see her vision. Our differences strengthen us. Your human chaos, my Voidrex order, Cryon logic, Fluxari adaptability. She paused. But it needs trust, deep personal trust beyond laws or mandates. Trust that starts with people, Elias said, understanding. Couples, families, friends. Exactly, Lyra said, her marks shifting to new patterns. Which brings me to something I've wanted to share. In Voidrex tradition, when a hunter finds a partner who matches their strength, who runs beside them in any hunt, we hold a bonding ceremony. Elias's heart spiked, their armor link betraying it. A bonding, I'm explaining, she said carefully. It links us permanently, emotionally, legally, biologically. Our life forces would sync. You'd live as long as I do, feel what I feel, share every triumph, every loss. That's a hell of a commitment, Elias said, his voice steady despite the weight. Which is why I'm telling you, First Larath said. A human lifespan is a century. Voidreks live 3. Bonding means watching your human ties fade while ours endures. Elias absorbed the gravity, not just a proposal, but a transformation of his existence. Children, he asked. Possible between us. With genetic aid? Yes, she said, her marks pulsing with vulnerability. They'd be something new. Neither fully human nor Voidreks, but a bridge. I understand if it's too much, she added. If you need time. Yes, Elias cut in. She blinked. Yes, you need time. Yes, I'll do it, he said, reaching across the table, his scarred hand finding her scaled one. The ceremony, the bonding, the 3-century lifespan. On all of it, Lyra. I've followed you through corporate firefights, conspiracies, and revolutions. You think I'd balk at a longer life with you? Most humans cling to their humanity, she pointed out. I'll still be human, he said, grinning. Just human plus, enhanced by alien romance tech. Our armor links us in battle, why not make it permanent? This isn't a joke, she said, her voice soft but serious. I'm not joking, Elias replied. I'm just not scared of something this incredible. I love you, Lyra, in whatever form, for however long. Her marks flared so brightly diners turned to stare. You've never said that, she whispered. Saved it for maximum impact, he said, squeezing her hand. Tactical romance, very human. Strategic emotion, very Voidreks. She countered, her smile radiant. Their moment was shattered by simultaneous chimes, Elias's implant. Larath's device, every screen in the restaurant lighting up with a stellar spark alert. Emergency broadcasts. All matched pairs stand by for critical information. The wall screen displayed stark text. To those who found connection across the void, you've proven difference isn't division. Species isn't separation. Love transcends form. The experiment is complete. The hypothesis confirmed. Organic life chooses harmony over conflict, understanding over fear, connection over isolation. Stellar Spark was never about dating. It proved the future lies in bonds between species. Cherish your love. Persist in your search. To those exploiting this gift, your time ends. The Nexus Weaver has fulfilled its purpose. In 60 seconds, this system will self-delete to prevent misuse. The connections, children, and understanding remain. The future is yours to write. With hope, those who came before. The message faded. Silence gripped the restaurant, and 60 seconds later, Stellar Spark vanished from every device galaxy-wide. Those who came before Larath whispered. The precursors. They built this. Why, Elias asked. To save us from ourselves, Sophia said, rushing in, drones whirring. Elias Larath. Every matched couple got it millions. And the app's gone no trace. It completed its purpose, Larath said slowly. It forged cross-species bonds, proved cooperation possible, set the stage. For what we've built, Elias finished. The open light standard, the refugee agency, interspecies, unity over competition. You two were the test case, Sophia breathed. Your match broke, Nexus Corp's monopoly opened the door for everything. Elias and Larath exchanged glances, chosen not manipulated, part of something vast. Does this change anything? Elias asked. Everything. Nothing, Larath said, her mark steady. We're still us. Our feelings are real. Our work continues. And a ceremony to plan. Sophia added, catching their earlier talk. The first human Voidreks bonding. That's the media event of the century. Private ceremony, Elias and Larath said in unison. Small gathering. Sophia bargained. Tiny Larath confirmed. Family and friends only. I can work with that, Sophia said, already scheming. In the wake of the Nexus Weaver's revelation, their bond felt both grander and simpler. Soon, Larath decided. Very soon. We've waited long enough. 3 weeks later, aboard the Apex Predator, in a chamber adorned with human and Voidreks symbols, Elias Kane and Sovereign Larath underwent the bonding ceremony. Admiral Kairos Flint stood as Elias's witness, their bond rebuilt on newfound respect. Matriarch Vespera, won over by Larath's revolution, performed the Voidreks rites. Sophia broadcast select moments, making their union a galactic symbol of a new era. But the truest moments were private, the vows blending human and Voidreks traditions, the synchronization of their life forces, a homecoming that transcended species. No regrets, Larath asked later, as they watched Earth rise over Luna, through their suite's viewport. One, Elias admitted. My stellar spark bio was wrong. My armor survived our first date. But not this ceremony, Lyrath noted. Their old armors were retired, replaced by suits, merging the best of both species' tech. So you were prophetic. I prefer eventually accurate, he said, pulling her close, marveling at how natural it felt, despite their differences. Think we'll set a good example for other interspecies couples. We'll be ourselves, Lyrath said. If that inspires, great. If not, we'll be happy. Through their bond, Elias felt her contentment mirror his own. Whatever the Nexus Weaver's intent, their future was theirs to face together. Months later, Valeria Thorne was captured in Trawan for crimes against biological sovereignty. The Open Light Standard spread across human and alien space, the Light Refugee Agency becoming a permanent beacon of integration. Across colony worlds, children were born, neither fully human nor voidrex, but bridges proof that species divisions were doorways, not walls. Elias and Lyrath watched these changes from frontier outposts, founding refugee stations, and from capitals forging cooperation treaties, stealing quiet moments amid duty. Years later, on a world with 3 suns, Lyrath asked, would you do it again, knowing it was orchestrated? In a heartbeat, Elias said without hesitation, though I'd tweak my bio, my armor won't survive, but my heart will. Too sentimental, Lyrath teased, her marks glowing. How about veteran soldier seeks apex predator for galaxy-spanning adventure and terrible puns? Perfect, Elias agreed. Good thing the app's gone or we'd match again. As if anyone else would have us, she said fondly. They sat in silence, bonded partners, watching the triple sunset paint the sky in impossible hues. Elsewhere, other couples built similar bridges, the Nexus Weaver's vision becoming reality one match at a time. I love you, Elias said, the words still a miracle. And I love you, Lyrath replied, her remarks radiant with contentment. For all the centuries ahead. Above the stars shone freely, no longer rationed part of an open sky where any connection was possible. The hunt for justice had become a quest for understanding, the soldier and sovereign now builders of peace. In the end, the greatest twist was that love could transform not just 2 souls, but 2 species, and through them, the galaxy itself. The Nexus Weaver had chosen well, but Elias and Lyrath had chosen better. They'd chosen each other.